So, when it comes to dating, there's a lot of things that can be frustrating for a woman. And for some, the frustration is just meeting men, right? Just having men willing to come talk to you, being able to have more opportunities be presented to you, so on and so forth. But then the next layer of it is when you actually do meet a guy, and not just meet a guy, but a guy that you have an interest in, then it's the frustration of you'll have things seemingly going well, and then it goes away, or this thing seems to fall off, the guy loses interest, or you lose interest, whatever the case may be. But in the scenarios where maybe you feel like he may have lost interest for a reason, or essentially, how can you keep this going in a positive direction? There's a lot of things that women tend to overlook. Now, I'm going to say this before I get into the real meat of this video. A lot of women are being given guidance that can lead to game playing, that can lead to behaviors that will only make things actually harder, not easier and better. And so I want to make things easier and better for you. I want to increase your chances of having success in your dating experiences. So here are some feminine ways to keep a man's interest, because listen, the reality is that the vast majority of men, if you ask them, do they want a feminine woman? The majority are going to say yes. All right. And so tapping into that femininity for a woman is powerful. And let me also make clear, not just for the sake of keeping a man's interest and having success with relationships, but for your own peace, quality, and overall joy in life. Right. So let's get to number one. And the first feminine thing you can do to keep a man's interest is focus on your energy, not just the actions. So the reason why I felt the need to bring this up and make this number one is because I was recently on, well, not recently, it was months ago, or maybe it was last year. Anyways, I was on a panel at one time for the Dear Future Wifey podcast, and one of the topics that came up was women being feminine. And one of the panelists, Jessie, she mentioned how, these men nowadays want you to cook, clean, do all these things. But, women are more than that. And that's not what every woman's trying to do in a relationship. And one of the things I don't remember if I mentioned it on the stage, but I thought about after processing it some more, is the fact that a lot of women are confusing traditional roles with feminine energy, okay? Now, let's make this clear. There are women who can do all those traditional roles, so to speak, traditional gender roles, cooking, cleaning, housemaking, all that, and yet still not exude feminine energy. On the flip side, you have women who don't do any of those things. They don't cook, they don't clean, they don't do any of that traditional stuff, yet can exude feminine energy all day, every day. Because feminine energy first starts from within, all right? Whether you want to call it energy or spirit, it starts from what's going on within yourself and understanding how to project that energy out into the world. Your actions can be expressions of your feminine energy, or your feminine energy can flow through your actions, but the actions themselves don't necessarily dictate the energy of femininity. Now, if that sounds confusing, my apologies, but let me give it to you in a different way. So it's the same way how someone could talk to you and they can be very calm, they can speak very properly, they don't curse at you, anything like that. Yet you still feel an attitude coming at you. You still feel their energy attacking you, because the words that someone speaks doesn't necessarily dictate the energy that they're giving off. And so it can still create a very unpleasant experience talking to them if they are not mindful of their energy. So it's the same thing here. So when you are trying to keep the interest of a man going, right? You're trying to create better success in your dating and relationships. You have to start with what kind of energy, what kind of spirit am I bringing to this environment, all right, to this process. And so if you are struggling with bringing that kind of energy, one, understand that if you're being positive and loving, you're already tapping into your femininity, All right. So for anyone who say, well, how do I tap into that energy? Well, one of the simplest ways is focus on positivity and being loving. Like that in itself is going to exude feminine energy. And it kind of goes from there. And I don't want to get too deep into that. That's a whole different video. But the point is, ask yourself, what kind of energy am I bringing? Now, it's hitting my spirit, so I have to say this. A lot of times women don't realize that their feminine, positive, loving energy is being thrown off because in the dating process, there's a lot of skepticism. There's a lot of fear, okay? There is a lot of over-analyzing. And I laugh because y'all know sometimes y'all be in y'all head so much, okay? Driving yourselves crazy rather than allowing yourself to actually enjoy the experience, all right? And it's one thing if the man is genuinely doing bad things that cause you to have to question where he stands. But literally, you can have a situation where the man's not doing anything wrong. He's been nothing but good. And now it's like, oh, he's too good to be true. Now it's the overanalyzation is to think that he's trying to set you up for something bad. Like you can't even embrace the good he's presenting because again, that fear, that skepticism, that outside noise, friends, family, the internet, getting in your head, making you think something has to be wrong rather than actually enjoying it. And now listen, for those of you who are saying, but Stephan, sometimes it is something wrong. Now, if your intuition is talking to you, you know me. I'm never going to tell you to ignore your intuition. But you got to learn the difference between intuition and just fear that's getting in the way, right? But also understand that even if this man is planning to do something wrong that will show himself not worthy or not worth your time, you dwelling in a place of skepticism and negativity isn't going to do you any favors, okay? Because if he is a great man, you're only going to now sabotage the situation or negatively impact it. If he is the bad man, it's going to come out. So look at it this way. You could enjoy yourself in the moment while still being in awareness and control of your emotions to where when he does do that bad thing, you're not blinded by your enjoyment. You're still able to see it for what it is and execute letting him go or addressing the issue the minute that it comes up. All right. You have to learn how to kind of flow with it in a way that you can switch into that. Okay, this needs to be addressed and switch right back into, okay, it's addressed. We're good. Let me go back to enjoying. But that energy of enjoying it is going to allow you to more easily tap into that loving, positive energy. So at the end of the day, so we can move on to the next point, focus on the energy first and foremost and let things flow from there. All right, so now the next thing you can do, the next feminine way to keep a man's interest is to speak to him with love and kindness and positive energy. So we're continuing with what I was just talking about. It starts with the energy, right? But then now, yes, there is a matter of being mindful of how you speak to the man. I can tell you as someone who, again, I've coached men, I've coached women, I've coached couples. I've seen tons of situations. One of the most common issues that creates a lot of tension and wreaks havoc in the relationship is women not being mindful of how they speak to a man, okay? Now, if you're saying to yourself, Stephan, if she's speaking to him all kinds of ways, he must have did something wrong, right? Because I know that's always the assumption by a lot of women is that when the woman does something wrong, it's because the man triggered her. Listen, one, it's not always a man triggering her. Sometimes the man who triggered her is her ex issues that she never resolved. And now it's coming out and being taken out on the current man she's dating. Or maybe not just an ex. Hell, it might be stuff going on with her father, things she hasn't healed from back then. There's a lot of different things that are now being projected onto the current man, but not because of the current man. But let's just say he did do something wrong. Let's just say he did. And for the sake of this example, let's say it was a mistake. But you may not know that. You just see a man that did something that you don't like. Well, you now retaliating with negative, harsh talk, it doesn't serve any good purpose. Again, when we feel like we have to be attacking with our words, negative with our words, we got to come at people sideways, essentially, that's our pride. And I always say, you either want to focus on pride or progress, okay? Pride can get you into more trouble. Pride can make the situation a lot worse. When you're focused on progress, you can still address the issue. You can still hold the man accountable and maintain a positive, loving tone. Now, for any woman that says, Stephan, I've been positive and loving and he still does wrong, or that man I dated still does foolishness, then he's exposing himself as a man not worth your time. If a man cannot respect you coming at him in a positive and loving manner, that means he is either not the man for you or not emotionally ready or healthy enough to be with you. All right. That's just more proof, but you should not take it as, well, that's a reason for me not to speak loving and positive. No, just get him out the way, because there's another guy out there who will love and respect that, who will feel like, dang, even when I make a mistake, she doesn't jump down my throat. She doesn't make me feel some kind of way. She addresses me respectfully and we resolve it. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I know that can be tough. I know many of you are conditioned to going at it from a much more harsh perspective. And again, you have to reprogram your mind to think that you have to come at it from this very negative way in order to gain respect, or, and to not be played in any kind of way. That's just not true. It's just not true. So understand that learning how to speak more positively and lovingly is going to be much more beneficial. And I feel the need to say this, whether it's this point or any of the points I make, a lot of this stuff are things you should be practicing in your everyday life, with your mothers, with your sisters, with your coworkers, all these different people. And what's the beauty of practicing with those individuals is you will get an opportunity to see the power of it before you even have to do it with a man. All right. Some of you don't understand how much further it will get you even at work. All right. I don't want to go through this long story, but I had a client once. To make it fast, she was running a hospital. When I first got with her, she was not liked by her coworkers at all. All right. It was a very negative environment. When she learned how to tap into her feminine energy, be more positive and loving in the way that she spoke to her employees, she said everything changed. They went from saying hello, being happy to be around her, offering more help and assistance. So that's why I really stress to you, this is not just about what it does for men and dating. It's the power it will start to show in all aspects of your life. So practice it in every way possible. So actually, one more thing before we move on to the next point. So in talking about speaking lovingly and feminine energy, when you speak in a very negative or harsh tone, you are essentially coming across more masculine, right? Not that harsh tones and negativity is a masculine trait, but you have to understand how it comes across and how it presents itself when it comes out of you as a woman. And so now what will happen is the man, it's almost like you're challenging and attacking him. Now, I always say, anytime someone feels attacked, they're going to get defensive. But it's not just getting defensive because I feel attacked. You're trying to punk me like I'm your child or speak down to me. So naturally, a lot of people will now try to overcompensate and come back at you even harder. And when I say a lot of people, I was going to say men, but it is a lot of people, because if you do it to a woman too, she's going to up the ante as well. All right. And so a lot of times that tone, that energy only sets the stage for a bigger battle. Okay. And it just goes downhill from there. So again, and not just that, what's also hitting me is that it puts you in a very stressful state. So no matter what the outcome of that conversation is, in most cases, you walk away with more negative energy festering within you. You walk away with a headache. You walk away more stressed. So it's not healthy for you. Learning how to stay in that more positive and loving tone is good for your own health, but again, increases the chances of a much more beneficial and rewarding outcome. All right. Next feminine thing you can do, or feminine way to keep a man's interest, is to continuously flirt with him. Now, I think to highlight what the point I really want to get across even more, I'm going to say continuously show him desire. So flirting essentially does that. Flirting shows interest, expresses desire, okay? And it feels good when the flirting is coming from someone you actually like. Because let's be real, when the flirting comes from someone you don't care for, now it's harassment. Okay? Now it's annoying you. Now it can put a bad taste in your mouth. But when it's coming from someone that actually has interest and attraction towards you, it feels good. So this man you're dating, it's already established there's attraction. It's already established he likes you. He likes you to some extent at this point. And a lot of women overlook the need to flirt with the man. And again, they overlook the need, they overlook the power of flirting to gain the interest of men, and they overlook the power of flirting while in the dating or relationship process with a man. All right? And a lot of men do not feel desired by their partner. Again, it's something you hear about more from women. You hear more women express a lack of feeling desired in their relationship, but I can tell you it's extremely common with men, okay? And so as a woman, you want to make sure you're still complimenting the man. You're still, when you see something that looks good to you, say it. You know what I'm saying? And let's be real. I feel the need to kind of pivot just a little bit. A lot of you struggle with flirting because a lot of you struggle with being vulnerable. And flirting, there is a level of vulnerability there that comes with that. There's a level of openness that comes with that. There's this idea that, well, I don't want him to think I'm sweating him. I don't want him to think I'm thirsty. I don't want him to think I'm desperate. But it's like, yo, if you're already dating, that's not how he's going to take that. And how we perceive people's actions is highly dependent on the interest we have in them. So again, going back to the kind of joke I mentioned earlier, when it's coming from someone you don't care for, you're not attracted to, yes, it doesn't feel good. It can feel more thirsty. It can feel more desperate. But when it's someone that you actually are attracted to, it feels great. For most people, I mean, if you surveyed most men and women, they would say, yeah, they would love for their partner to flirt with them more. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of ways you can show and express desire. And it doesn't just have to be sexually, because I know some of y'all might be thinking in that way, and I'm not saying that doesn't help. I'm just saying that's not what the focus has to be, but it has to be a desire that shows attraction, a desire that shows joy that when he's around, just those positive and loving things. And, you know, I'll say this, and I've mentioned it in other videos. There's a book that it's based on surveying people who come out of getting their marriage license. And they ask all these questions. And one of the questions they asked the husbands was, why did you marry this woman? And one of the top answers, if not the top answer they received, was because she liked me. And to me, it's such a powerful point because, again, I think a lot of women don't realize that in relationship dynamics, there tends to be a greater expectation of the man pursuing the woman. And it creates this situation where a lot of women are either holding back or don't realize that they're not kind of meeting the guy halfway when it comes to effort, reciprocation, and showing interest. And so when a woman does show interest and desire to a man, it draws him more to that woman. So it's a very powerful tool. And of course, you know, depending on the specific man, there might be certain ways he likes to be flirted or shown desire. So you always want to take time to learn that specific guy and what works for him. But it's something you want to embrace that will make things a lot better for you in dating and relationships. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So there's this beautiful quote I love to post, and it says, "The next time love visits you, I pray that it stays." And I genuinely, truly do pray that you experience an amazing, awesome love